2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. How do I support a loved one with anxiety?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Tyler. We're brothers.
We're therapists.
We're not afraid of your questions.
So bring it. Quick review first. It says genuine, vulnerable, and practical discussions that call you to action wherever you're at in the process. This resource has given me permission to accept where my husband is at within his own journey, as well as myself and where I'm at without judgment.
I love it.
Excellent. That's what we try to promote, is love and acceptance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great review.
All right. I got a question for you, Tyler. Some tough ones here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes, we hear things from our clients and things like that where it's like, man, both sides have a reason for doing what they're doing and feeling the way they're feeling. So how, what do they do here? Mm-hmm. But anxiety is a really interesting thing. Anxiety disorders, things like OCD, or just a generalized anxiety disorder, can wreak havoc in relationships. Years ago, I had a client whose wife was OCD, and
explain what OCD is.
Obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay. It's an anxiety disorder, where there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of control. And I think most people think of it as like being a germaphobe.
You touch the doorknob 48 times.
You have to touch it exactly 48 times before you go in the house. But it manifests itself in different ways. But other anxiety disorders, things like hoarding, is an anxiety. It's based out of an anxiety disorder. And so, and then just anxiety.
General anxiety.
Yeah. Panic attacks, insomnia, those
racing
things,
mind,
racing thoughts, those things are anxiety. And I think it's important that as therapists, we deal with anxiety every day.
Every day.
Yeah. And it's so common. So we just wanted to touch on it. But here's what I was saying is she struggled with OCD. He'd cut his finger on a nail, like 2 days prior. And so it was healing and he wasn't bleeding. She found out that he had cut his finger on a nail, and she wouldn't let him in the house. She wouldn't let him go sleep in the house. She wouldn't she didn't want him around the kids because his blood would contain the anxiety. It's not rational. And so he was frustrated. He was pissed off. He
Yeah.
was feeling judged. He was feeling controlled. He was angry. Yet she has an anxiety disorder.
Right.
So I told you these are tough ones.
These are hard.
So what do you like? Where do you go with something like that?
Right. Well, I think where there's a tendency to go, whether it's inside the relationship or somebody hearing the story, is to say, well, she's just nuts. Like,
well, that's easy to judge her.
Right. But in reality, and I think you said this, is that on both sides of this, there's actual human beings who are feeling a certain way for the reason, probably for some pretty good reasons, whether we know them or not.
Right.
And so being able to take a step back and look at that, and I think this is something that's interesting about anxiety is that especially anxiety, I think depression does this too, but anxiety, it's almost contagious.
Yes.
With people where, if I step into a situation with somebody who I love, and they're coming at me with this energy level of anxiety, I can't help but almost have my own body come up and do the same things. And if I'm not careful, then that becomes its own sort of like dance that we do, where now, because I get anxious, I act in certain ways that I'm trying to manage my own anxiety with, that isn't necessarily helpful to the loved one that I'm trying to help. It fuels
it all.
It actually fuels it. And then their response it becomes this thing where we amp it up higher and higher and higher.
You're both in your protective modes in the relationship now.
Right. And we're in self-protection mode. And so I think that there is some room to say, okay, let's take a look at like what's actually driving that. And let's try to meet. So in your story that you told, let's try to meet her from a place of true curiosity and what we refer to in treatment all the time as ridiculous patience. At the same time, that we also don't want to be feeding into or selling or reinforcing
or enabling
the things that those kind of like ungrounded fears that are there.
Yeah, so it's a really tricky song and dance. What you just described, Tyler, which is, don't take it personally. Don't take your partner's anxiety personally. Trying to force them to see how crazy they are and to overcome it and to knock it off, that will never work, and that will amp it up, like you're saying. And showing them how stupid they are or how ridiculous or over the top it is, none of that will ever work.
No.
A ridiculous patience will work, coupled with your real honesty at the same time about what works for you and what doesn't. So his heart could be very empathetic, very loving, very kind, and he could be patient with his wife about how difficult it is for her to have him go in the house with a cut on his finger, as crazy as it may seem. And then he does need to be honest that he needs to be able to go in the house and sleep in his own bed.
Yes.
And he's actually supporting her, and this feels backwards to her, supporting her to deal with her issue, to actually look at it and say, okay,
by doing that.
And so, but if his heart's at war, or if he's saying how ridiculous she is, and he's barging in there because he's going to teach her a lesson, it's going to produce more anxiety. So.
Right. Exactly. I think that's the challenge here is that we want to make sure that we're doing things for the right reasons. And when you look at, let's take OCD that we're talking about, but in other anxiety disorders, I think this principle actually applies too. What is one of the best treatments for OCD? It's putting the person in that situation and having them learn that life is going to go on. When the thing that they're afraid of is actually happening, it's like I can lean myself into and through those things and realize, it's like I'm thinking about what about Bob,
right.
Like baby steps, and all of those things, and that's actually how we start to overcome those things, is we actually overcome our fears. We actually overcome our anxieties by stepping into and through those things. And if we have a safe place inside of our relationships to articulate what's happening for us and then to learn to confront those things. And if we have loved ones who are willing to say, I see that this is a big problem for you, at the same time that we're going to lean through this.
Yes.
That's one of the best ways to help an anxiety disorder, because now that person feels supported and understood at the same time that they're kind of getting pushed to say, I got to confront this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So if I walk into a hoarder's house and they have a lot of anxiety So they're hanging on to all this stuff. They're not throwing garbage away. You know, there are piles and piles of it all around them. If I walk into their house and I take a garbage can and just start dumping the stuff in the garbage, like, here you go. Like that, I'm not being codependent, right? I'm kind of being boundaried, but I'm not being effective in that I need to step into their shoes, understand them, like an increase in love, and also understand my place. If it's their house and they want to hoard, they can hoard. They can live in that anxiety. If it's my house and it's garbage everywhere, then I can love them and appreciate them for hoarding that stuff and having that anxiety, and still be willing to say, I'm sorry, but we got to throw some of this stuff away.
Yeah, some of this still needs to go. And I know how hard this is for you, and I know how difficult it is, but we got to look at it. As you're talking, Brandon, we're using the example of hoarding. I got to tell you, like, I used to, when I lived up in Idaho several years ago, we, for our church thing, somebody was moving out. They were moving out of our kind of like our church boundaries to another church. And they asked for guys to go help move. And so a bunch of guys showed up to help move. And in their house, he was a true hoarder. I mean, it was like pathways through, to try to find stuff.
Right.
And we literally showed up with like trash bags and boxes, and we're like, how are we going to move this stuff? And most of it was garbage. And then he had a whole storage unit that was full of like nothing but like boxes of like papers and news articles and stuff just from all over the place. And we open up this shed, and it's like bricked in with just this junk. And I'm looking at it going like, we're not moving all this stuff. And the inside of me was like, guys, like, we're done. And then what ended up happening is that a lot of the guys that I was with, like half of them went and talked with him and were distracting him. And while half of his stuff was just like, guys, we're not moving this, and that was probably not the most appropriate way to handle it, because really we weren't respectful of the fact that those things, for whatever reason, did mean something to him. At the same time, that what we should have probably done is been a little bit more boundaried with him.
Well, it's interesting. So here's my origins as a therapist. This was long before I even thought about being a therapist, but we had a neighbor. Let's call him Dan.
All right.
Who called me, and he's like, my mom's freaking nuts. She won't throw anything away. And they were moving. And I don't know why he called me, but he's like, come over here. So I go over there, and he's literally taking her stuff. And I tell you what, to anyone else, it's junk. Mm-hmm. And I can picture this like it was yesterday. He's taking it, and he's like, fine. And he's throwing it all the way into the moving truck, and is hitting against the back wall just and breaking.
Shattering.
He's like, fine, you can keep this, and you can keep that. And, and I'm like, I'm glad you called me. And so I go in, and I kind of talk to his mom, and she, when I talked to her and she could feel that I actually cared, that's all it took for her, was like, oh, like, okay, like, it's okay.
This is hard.
This is really hard. To him, he's just frustrated because he's in the thick of it with his mom, with her anxiety, and he's just sick and tired of it. And so I was able to kind of be a middleman there of like, look, we're okay, you're okay, and we can do this, while he was throwing stuff in the truck. But he actually stopped doing that once we kind of talked it out a little bit. So I think one thing, if you approach anxiety head on, you'll cause more anxiety. So if you go to a person with an anxiety disorder and you say, you have an anxiety disorder, go get help, go get treatment. That's what you need to do. They're going to probably push away or fight back and just retreat from you. It's like addiction. You go to someone struggling with an addiction. Hey, you have an addiction, knock it off, go get help. They're going to go more underground with it. Where you approach it with love, you have connection with them, but then you're honest with them of like what you do see. Like, I do see this as a problem, and I want to help you. And oh, by the way, I found this really awesome therapist who specializes in OCD. Or I heard this thing really helps for anxiety here. And you don't do it constantly, but you do be honest and provide that support for your loved one.
You provide that open door, and you continue to show that that's an option. That there are some ways to take care of those things and handle those things instead of just meeting them with true frustration.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Tyler, even as we're just talking about this, I'm feeling some anxiety.
Me too.
Because it's such a tricky, hard thing to navigate.
It's pretty messy. Like if you're in a relationship with somebody, I'm thinking of someone that I'm working with right now that I like deeply love, who really does struggle with just true anxiety. And what currently is happening, and this is the hard part, is that whenever his anxiety comes up, and it's usually around how he's maybe falling short as a husband or father, or maybe there's something at work that's going on, or maybe it's a social situation that's going to be a problem. As that anxiety creeps up, what's happening now is that his partner sees it, and it's actually triggering in her own anxiety, and she's going, uh-oh, when he goes this way, then this is where things have fallen apart in the past. And so then what she's doing right now is she's trying to like figure out how to navigate that for herself with her own anxiety. And oftentimes it goes one of a couple of ways. It either goes into where it's like punitive and punishing, or which
is trying to control him.
Yeah. Or it's into like totally withdrawing,
which triggers his anxiety,
which
even
feels
more.
like abandonment.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when you've got your own feelings going on to try to find that middle healthy ground where you can sit in that space and tolerate the anxiety yourself and say, this is hard.
Yes.
Like this is tough, but this is where we're at right now. And to not stay stuck in just, okay, this is all okay. Of course it is, like it's reality. But when we look at like mental health disorders, specifically with anxiety and depression, one of the best things for that, and this is like a dual thing, is to be met with patience and love at the same time. That there needs to be structure.
Yes.
There needs to be some type of structure and boundaries. And if I can hold that kind of middle ground space in the relationship, that's the best thing I can do for somebody.
Right.
So then I can, so I'm thinking of like someone who's a hoarder. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just be like, F you, I don't want to help you.
Right.
You also can't go over there and be like, okay, every one of these is totally precious and we're not going to like have any problems getting all of this moved for you.
Right.
There has to be some middle ground to say, hey, look, we love you so much and we want to help you. And our capabilities are this big and your house is this much stuff. And, the reality is that the only way we can help is at this level.
Okay. I'm going to give you a story. You've probably heard this before, Tyler. And, but it's kind of an analogy for this because whether it's addiction, whether it's anxiety, whether it's deep depression, whatever it is, a major problem that somebody has, this applies to it. So you're a traveler, you have somewhere really important to go. Okay. So you're heading there, you're walking there, and there's a bridge, and the bridge is a huge, deep ravine. It's like 1,000 feet. You're crossing that bridge, and I come across the bridge at the same time. And I say, hey, hang on to this rope and do not let go. Okay? And so you hang onto the rope, and I jump over the bridge, and I hang onto the other end of the rope, and I'm dangling there at the bottom of this rope. And there's nowhere to tie it off. You can't tie it anywhere. You're in the middle of this ravine, and you start saying, what are you doing? Like, what? Climb up the rope. And I start yelling back at you, don't kill me. Don't let go. Don't. And I'm just, and your muscles are getting tired. And what do you do?
This is like that dilemma, right? Because there's like all sorts of principles of like our own morality at play here. So I have somebody who willfully, if I understand you right, jumped over the edge of this thing with the rope while I was holding the other end of it. Now I'm stuck holding it with this other human being on the other end. They're capable of climbing the rope, but they won't climb it. But they're also saying, don't leave me. Right. Like you can't let go of me or else I'm going to die.
I am capable of climbing the rope, but I'm yelling at you saying I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Just don't let go.
Yeah.
What do you do?
At the end of the day, I'm only going to be able to hold on to that rope for so long in a supportive role before I truly do become so fatigued and so worn out and so
you go over the edge of the bridge
that we both go over together.
Right.
If I don't let go, eventually I'm just going to go over with them. So at some point, there is going to have to be some level of surrender, basically. And I think what you're maybe getting at here is that there needs to be a way to leave accountability in the court of the person who's got the mental illness
Yes.
to do the work,
Yes.
while at the same time still trying to provide the support and the love. But if we overdo it, and if we try to actually pull that person up and we can't do it, then eventually we both go down together.
And you nailed it. That's it.
So
I mean, that's the principle is, and I think at times in our relationships we feel stuck. Like there's no good answer.
It's hard.
If I hold a boundary with somebody with anxiety, that's like me dropping them off this cliff.
Mhm.
Right. But if I hang on forever, then I'm just a codependent who's supporting them to dangle down there and keeping us both stuck.
Right.
Right.
Right. And if I'm going to go that route, then I should at least be able to work myself to a place of owning that that's what I'm doing, so I don't have to suffer quite so much.
Exactly.
You know.
But it's a really tough position to be in.
Yeah. I've got another former client that just to kind of illustrate this point, you know, they've got, and they're older. They have an adult son that they've been providing for like the last 20 years. What I mean providing for, they bought him his
failure to launch.
Yeah, failure to launch. Like they bought him, and he's got a significant anxiety disorder. Like he's got some agoraphobia, which is the fear of going out in public,
Yes.
you know? And so he basically stays holed up in his house. They bring over his groceries for him. They pay for his bills. They bought the house for him. Like pretty much he sits in his house all day and watches TV and plays video games.
Right.
And whatever else goes on with numbing out. And, you know,
So and he masturbates
right,
is what you're saying.
Probably, you know, seems like there's a correlation between video games and sexual.
Who
addiction.
knows what he's doing?
Who knows? The point of the the point that I'm trying to get at here is that those parents have now been trying to be supportive, and I'm putting supportive in quotes, to their son because they're sensitive to the fact that he has an anxiety disorder. Like they know how difficult it is for him to even think about stepping outside the house. And so what they've done is, like any good parents would want to do, is they've tried to provide support and love for him to the tune of basically creating his own prison and providing everything for him.
Yeah.
Right? Now, do you blame a parent for doing that? I don't think so. Like, of course, that's being done with like really good intentions. At the same time, it's fair to have to ask ourselves the question, how much am I actually helping here?
Well, the coddling is not loving, and you know, I believe the best example of a parent out there is God, and God lets us step into pain, and God allows us to experience the hard stuff so that we can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think it's our job as parents to protect and to provide and those type of things. Coddling is not loving, and a lot of what they do, Tyler, is, and just to be blunt with this, is they do it not because they love him. They do it because they're scared for them. They're scared for them to feel the pain
that's going to come
of their son being on the streets or possibly committing suicide or whatever it is. So it's easier not to take the risk and to just keep giving
stay
him
in the cycle.
And I do believe that. I believe that, come back to my story, it is healthy to drop the rope eventually.
Eventually you have to, and that's where the idea of surrender and God comes back too.
Yeah.
Is that in the equation that you painted in your story with the rope is that you didn't leave, you left out that there has to be another force here.
Yes.
There has to be some place where surrender can truly happen.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I can't fix my clients. They can't fix their son.
Right.
They can be a force for good in their son's life. I can be a force for good in their life.
But we are accountable for ourselves.
But we have to be accountable for ourselves.
And here's the thing with anxiety is that I think the outcomes in treatment, if somebody actually follows through with treatment, are pretty good with anxiety.
Yeah, actually they are.
Yeah, and so if somebody is willing, and it's hard when you have anxiety, it's hard to go out there and do hard work.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody is willing, they can really manage the anxiety and deal with the anxiety in a really healthy way. Just at church last Sunday, just a girl she's like a 22-year-old new mom, just had a baby. She gave the best talk, and she said this. She said, "I have OCD, and I want to talk to you about my OCD." And she talked all about her OCD. And one thing that she said at the end, she said, I've come to a point where instead of fighting against my OCD, I've learned that I have it and I can accept it and I can learn how to manage it. And because of that, it can bless my life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's coming, that gives me chills. That's coming from somebody who is doing a lot of work on her anxiety disorder. And she's not dangling down there having her husband hold the rope. He spoke next and he's like, can you see how strong she is? She's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And she still struggles with it.
And she has OCD.
Mm-hmm.
But she does her own work and she deals with it and she accepts it. So
that's a beautiful story, Brandon. Thank you for sharing that.
You guys, this stuff is hard. And I just want to validate both. If you're listening and you have an anxiety disorder, we're not saying you're bad. We're not saying you're just difficult. And like my heart goes out to you. And my heart goes out to family members, to your loved ones. And to your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And this challenge, why you have it, who knows? The trauma you've had, or maybe you were born with, who knows why you have it. Mm-hmm. But you do have a choice, and There's have
always a choice.
Yeah. And a responsibility. And what I mean by that is a responsibility, an ability to respond to this. You have a choice to face it, to work through it, to do the best that you can to manage it. Or you have a choice to grovel in it and let it fester and let it grow. And so I would challenge you to get help if you do have anxiety, and to get support and to deal with it.
Yeah, excellent. I know this is really common for, and probably almost everybody listening to this episode is either subject to some form of their own anxiety problems, or they know somebody who's definitely in it.
Yeah.
And there is definitely both sides to this. And so the best thing we can do, let's go back to your analogy one more time, is to acknowledge that we want to hold the rope. And we also need people to be climbing the rope when we're trying to hold it.
Exactly.
And if we can step into that space, whether we're the ones with the anxiety disorder hanging off the edge or the one standing on the bridge, both of us can actually grow in connection with each other by allowing both sides of that work to happen.
Exactly. Yes.
So, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this is helpful. I know that this is a really common topic. If you guys have found some value in this, hit the like or subscribe, or please share it with somebody else who might find some meaning and purpose in it. And we appreciate those of you who are listening and giving us the feedback. If you have more feedback for us, go to therapybrothers.com. We're constantly trying to make this better.
All right, guys. We'll see you.